Hey, Pong, can you move forward, please? I want to get into the game.
Well, I would like to move forward, but in order to do that, we must first address the elephant in the room. Yes, you're very witty. You do realize the moment I move, that horse face is gonna be eaten by the cannon over there, right?
By the what now?
Yo.
Shall we just go bowling?
My favorite way of studying this game is observing the strong players' games. There is a database website that you're looking at right now. 101xq.com is the full name. If we click on player, that will open a new tab, and I've already opened those beforehand. And there we see a list of all the top players that we can examine. Now, my favorite kinds of games are short ones, and especially those where the stronger player is facing someone who is decent, but not world elite. Because when observing games like that, there's a small mistake that the decent player makes, and the idea of the position is presented in its full glory by the elite player. And my favorite player to study is a bit further down this list, and is the number one female player, Tang Dan. She has about 80 points elo gap with the number 2 of women, so in recent years she has established herself as queen on the throne as far as Xiangqi comes. And you thought that in Xiangqi you didn't have a queen. If we were to click on her, we see a quick introduction page where you can select what kinds of games you look for example, all the wins or just the black wins. I like to view games in which a stronger player is black even more than red, because in red there can sometimes be a subtle mistake that black makes and red just crushes them. If the stronger player is black, there's just this slight little extra effort that they need to put in. Why do I like studying Tang Dan's games? It's also a matter of style. She has a very aggressive approach to the game, and that might be related to her talent in the beginning, but also that she studied under Xiangqi, who featured in my previous video. Her play is very relentless and looks very correct, and when facing other opponents, she tends to smash them as if they are YouTube-like buttons. Her black wins look like this, where you see them ranked first by number, but what I like to do is click on moves, and now we see the shortest games that pop up, and usually those short ones, it could be that red gives away a piece and then it's not too valuable, but many of those show valuable opening information that works well for those who like studying games. At least it's what I like to do. And the game we're going to feature today is one where she plays as black, and we have her over here. And she's facing a Malaysian player. The website calls her Chen Jiayun, but after some research, thank you Flameco, her full name is Tan Jiayun, and I found this picture on her Facebook. Recently I met Tang Dan a bit better at a tournament where you play 2 versus 2, and well, lo and behold, I was lucky enough to be paired with her. And as soon as I found out that I was paired with my favorite player to study, and also favorite player in general, there was much rejoicing. Yay! But let me hide myself, since this game will be about these 2 players. Now, before I go into the game, let me show the first move, and I'm going to switch to the analysis realm and from red's perspective. Here we have the first game that I'm going to feature with the cross palace cannon. And that is a move that may look a little bit mysterious to those who haven't seen it a lot. I've put in a few more moves just to show why people like placing this cannon over here. Now, the black responses are quite realistic, but not too relevant. I just want to show the formation that the red camp likes to use. We have a rook swinging over. And here in the end, the move that looked a bit mysterious starts to show now its benefits. This cannon is very well placed. It protects, it attacks, and not unimportantly, it sits back. It's very difficult to get at, it's difficult to exchange, and it is one of those pieces that is just extremely well placed given the rest of the formation. It kind of reminds me of the Sicilian dragon bishop in that sense. All right, now for the game. We have, as advertised, the cross palace cannon opening. As black, you can have several responses to this. The red philosophy is this hammer and anvil setup, concentrating more forces on this right flank. Let's agree that we call this flank the right here and this flank the left for the remainder of the video. And one thing that black can do is contest the right flank. For example, developing this cannon here, the horse out at some point and swinging the rook over. Funnily enough, you can even play this on move 1 now, since the horse isn't hanging anymore. I've seen that too. But Tang Dan chooses the more balanced approach and keeps 3 versus 3 on each wing for now, and chooses this move much akin to the screen horse defense, where it says, I see your cannon leave over here, so that means next move, I want this file. Now, we have observed a red plan where it can go like this, but there is many moves here that red can play, and in this particular game, red claims a little bit of an advantage in space on the left wing, and black in return claims the open file. We have some development, and Tang Dan on her turn claims a bit more space, and we have the cannon moving forward. Now, we're going to go through this game, and I would like to underline my favorite word when it comes to getting ideas for a good move. My favorite word is and. And I plan to overuse this word so much that you'll believe this video is part of a Sesame Street episode, just to drive the point home. So what is the idea of this particular move right here, which doesn't really develop anything and moves the cannon forward? First of all, I think something about moving cannons forward like this in general. If you push a cannon forward like this, they're usually meant for blocking enemy pieces, whereas cannons in the back are usually better at attacking from far away. What red wants to do here is essentially, if black were to put the horse over here, then we're blocking it, and if black were to place the horse over here, then we're going to take this pawn. And taking this pawn has several ideas that I want to underline. Idea number 1 is to clear the file for the rook. The moment that this cannon disappears, we have the rook that we can develop like this. Point number 2 is blocking the black horse. There is now a pawn ahead of it, but once we place the cannon in front, it is going to have a lot of difficulty getting out. And it has another point. There's going to be some pressure on the elephant down here. That is annoying. Fourth point, and that is a distant fourth, is to take the pawn and get ahead a little bit in material. I've had a video beforehand in which an AI kept taking my pawns. I'm not against taking pawns as much as it seemed to be in that video, but I do dislike taking pawns in the opening if it's the only idea you have. But here, when it's tied to 3 ideas, then I like the move a lot. So, the question comes to Tang Dan now. This move asks her, hey, the most natural piece to develop for you is your horse. Where are you going? Are you going to here? In which case I'm going to block. Or are you going to go over there? In which case I have this multifunctional move. And Tang Dan does something here that I like a lot. She breaks my rule. One of my rules is do not move your elephants or advisors early in the opening. Because when you do, that is usually an opportunity cost for your major pieces. Now, I don't mind if people break my rules, but it's good to know why they do so. And Tang Dan here chooses to move the elephant up. Which, if red were to take here now, at least establishes that the idea of attacking the elephant is no longer valid. So let me strike that one out. So moving this elephant up is a little bit of a waiting move, asking red, hey, are you going to take now? Because if you are, I might develop my horse like this and you can't block it anymore. Or I might still move it to the side, I'm not telling you. So here's a question for you as audience. What would you do if you were red? Would you take the pawn? Or would you play a waiting move of yourselves? For example, there is the idea that maybe this rook wants to develop over here, and a very logical way of doing that is moving these guys out of the way. I'll give you a few seconds to make up your mind, and then we're going to continue. All right, the choice that red made here is one that the engine slightly disagrees with, and I disagree with a bit more out of personal taste, and so does Tang Dan. Red chooses to play a waiting move of her own. Why do I dislike that? Well, taking that pawn, yes, the attack on the elephant was crossed out, but we still do have 3 ideas left that are tied to this move. That's not bad. And also, the longer you wait with developing this rook here, the less of an impact it's going to have. Tang Dan, now seeing this particular move, decides to just place her horse on the edge. Red plays the elephant up, which is consistent. I still don't like it very much. I prefer getting this rook in, but it makes sense. If you move the advisor up, then the elephant usually follows. Oh, and why did she do it in that order? No particular reason in this position. You could also go elephant first. It doesn't matter here. In some openings it does, where you want to leave this place open for the cannon in some sidelines, but in this particular position I don't think it mattered too much. But one thing to realize is that red is now committing to developing like this. And this particular elephant move is also good to notice that this is no longer a waiting move. Black has already answered which way the horse was going. So if anyone were to think of this as a waiting move, then, well, what information were we still waiting for? So red continues developing on the left flank here. And Tang Dan goes, really? You are completely vacating stuff to the left of that king over there? Oh, that's very interesting. Maybe one day I'll come and visit stuff over there. Tang Dan likes to place this rook here in other games, but it's all the stronger when it ties in with the weakened flank on the left of the enemy king here. Now, red decides to get this rook into the game. There's two ways of doing this. You can either still take the pawn or just slide the cannon over, which he does here. As a move, I don't think this is very effective. It does control this point over here. But that is a place that black wasn't going for anyway. Oh, tried to get rid of the arrow. Ignore that last dance. Seeing this particular maneuver now, black sees coming that the rook will develop over here and that will attack this cannon. So black already decides to vacate this particular spot, going here, which dodges the rook and introduces a positional threat into the position. Now, red develops as advertised, and here comes the positional threat, the pawn sacrifice, which when I saw this game first was my favorite move of the entire game. Nowadays, it's a bit more standard. So let's observe what the idea is behind this particular sacrifice. First of all, red cannot take with the pawn because then the horse is hanging with only one piece being in between. So red has to take with the elephant. And this is a bit of a familiar formation, also from opening theory. And let me go to there. So I'm going to have a bit of an intermezzo in opening theory, and we're focusing this from the red side. We have a central cannon opening this time, which will lead to similar patterns. Now, first of all, this is somewhat of a main line of the screen horse defense. Both push their seventh pawn. Black now threatens to block this rook in with a constellation that I discussed in an earlier video. So a very natural response for red is to move the rook up. Black offers a trade, which red can take, but is a bit dry. The main move is to go to the side. And now the new move, how people play, is moving this cannon back such that later it can kick the rook away. The old move is moving this rook up to protect the horse again. And the idea behind such is as follows. If red were to move this horse up, black wants to move this cannon along the back. It is no longer needed to protect the horse because we're protecting it twofold like that. So black moves back, and let's say that red makes some kind of innocuous move, trying to get the rook in. Well, here we go. And in the future, black plans to have a lot of pressure along this file. Also, this rook along this file does a lot of damage, and, well, there's just a lot of pressure going on red's exposed right flank. This is a super dangerous system. So if this is so dangerous, why don't people play this as much anymore? Let me go a few moves back. So we just dodged with the rook, and black plays the old move of defending the horse and prepares to go like that. The reason that this is the old system is that red has an alternative means of developing, which is placing his cannon over here, already having a bit of a threat towards this horse that is kind of tender. Black tries to stop that by moving an elephant up, but red sacrifices a pawn anyway. And after the black take, there is a very nice path cleared for this horse. It can get into play very easily. The rook has very natural means of development, and the following moves, it's quite easy to be red here. The moves that follow are very natural, and it is agreed that red has a small advantage over here. The advantage isn't huge, black is by no means losing, and the position is playable, but this is definitely the reason that the rook up move is the somewhat older system, and players now prefer to move the cannon to the back instead. Now, one more thing that I want to say about this is this horse looks a little bit tender. The elephant can never move away because then the horse will fall. But it still has some options. At some point it can move away, or if black rearranges some pieces over here, this cannon is far away and can at some point protect the horse. It can't do so now, too many pieces in between, but it's not out of this world to imagine some protection. If we compare this to the game, let me go there. This horse is even a little bit more tender. It cannot go to the side. It has no particular escape routes. But that's not a very serious thing. And it doesn't have any faraway cannons because the cannon is right next to it. So if we compare this game position with the theoretical example, this is probably even better for black. And I did ask Tandan whether she spent a lot of time calculating this pawn sacrifice, and she did. But no doubt she was also enjoying how good it was, because it looks irresistible to me. Furthermore, it's not just this horse that gets hemmed in. Given that black will soon start hammering on the left flank over here, what is this rook doing? It's a bit outside the game, and a very normal way of getting into the game would be to run to the battlefield like this, but now it can't. So this pawn move, this pawn sacrifice over here, established that both the horse and the rook get sidelined, and there's a very appealing way of moving your own horse out. In the opening, this is easily worth one pawn. I don't have pawns of very high esteem in the opening anyway. They control only 1 point. And there is just so much that black gets back folded here. Okay, in the game, red just captured by the elephant. Tangdan now moves a rook up, which increases the scope sideways, and it's also a very thematical way of equalizing against a pawn push. Now, what to do with red against this horrible constellation? She comes up with a solution, which is moving this cannon to the side, preparing to move the elephant back, Because once it appears over here, all of a sudden this horse does have protection from a faraway cannon. But if I just go back one move, the engine really dislikes this move. And it took a while for me to understand why that is. And what it was trying to tell me is that this is actually, as horrendous as it looks, not the ugliest part of Red's position. This is the ugliest. What it would therefore recommend is moving the rook out, placing it next to the horse, blocking that for a little while. Now, keeping just a horse and maybe its protecting elephant busy is not a very honorable job for a rook, but it's more than zero. And after missing this final opportunity to get the rook into the game, this rook is going to look very silly in the future. But Red plays the aforementioned more natural move of moving this cannon to the side, preparing to move an elephant over here, giving this horse a faraway cannon. But which horse is now lacking a faraway cannon? I understand that there's a leading question, but when training, you're allowed to ask questions like that. So Tang Dan equalizes on pawns, and after trading, this rook will pressure the now weakened horse a bit. I really like how many moves that Tang Dan makes have more than one purpose. Red, after the pawn push, doesn't really have much better than taking. Please take my word for that one. I don't want to dig into every single move here. Black recaptures. And what to do with that attack on the horse now? Red decides to protect from the side, moving the rook up. Maybe one day this rook can also see the light of day like this. But Tang Dan is right in time to go, nah, I don't want your rook to move out here. She doesn't play this move immediately. By the way, first she activates her horse with tempo, forcing this cannon to move, and in a way that will also block the rook's path again. So what she does first is that she's going to lay down her horsey down by the riverside, and next move she's going to swing low Sweet Chariot. Wow. When observing her play, it really is like gospel. Now, as for this cannon, this one hasn't achieved much in life. It is in the middle of Black's position, and I mentioned earlier on, cannons that you move forward are good for blocking. This cannon isn't blocking anything. The black horses have free rein to move out. This guy is already out, and this will soon happen as well. It could take a few pawns, but there's a lot of pressure mounting over here, and with just a little bit more pressure, these pieces will need to move away, and black will invade on the weakened right flank with everything she's got. So where does this cannon belong? I think that it needs to go back towards the third rank and become a faraway cannon for this horse. So that should probably look something like this. And then maybe out of the way for this rook again. That is not a very glorious sequence of moves to make with your cannon, having moved it out so much in the opening. But it is where the cannon belongs, and therefore Tan Jiayun makes this very logical retreat, which is a bit of a walk of shame for the cannon, but what else is there? And, as advertised, the swing low Sweet Chariot. which moves the rook over towards the more exposed red flank, and it stops red from developing a run, because if you do that now, black would just trade, and then this horse doesn't have any defenders left. So the red cannon continues its walk of shame. And Tang Dan now blocks the horse even more and threatens to put it under a bit more pressure with moves like this. That stuff is so annoying that red decides to vacate this spot right away, which also prepares, maybe leads to offer a trade and buy yourself out a little bit. Now, Tang Dan, having improved so many of her pieces on the left flank, has but one piece still to include. We've advertised it earlier on, and here finally is the glorifying march of this side horse. Red now doesn't really have much time to trade here. Let me actually show that. Because this is a nasty pressure. The elephant still can't go back, because then you have two pieces attacking that horse. So all of that not working. So back to the game continuation. Red completes this cannon's walk of shame, but at least now this cannon is where it is supposed to be. Unfortunately, this entire maneuver took way too long, and black starts piling up the pressure now. Attacking the horse, red cannot move this elephant back, because then the horse is again attacked twice. So instead she chooses to protect this horse with the rook. We have now Tang Dan getting even her cannons into the attack. Red tries to consolidate, moving this elephant back could maybe have worked, but there is still some nagging pressure on this horse here. And also, if she moves the elephant back, there is always this little elephant that you need to be a little bit careful of. Instead, she chooses to lift the elephant from down upward. An understandable choice, but this entire flank that we have here now looks very constrained. Being ready to try and offer a trade now, Tang Dan pins this horse, moves the rook into the most vulnerable part of the board, and therefore stops this trade, because this horse can no longer move. I'm not really sure what kind of move red has left here. And from the red move, I guess that she has the same idea, pushing the side pawn. But what else is there? Tang Dan moves another piece into the attack. There is a bit of a Xiangqi saying that if your opponent can get 3 pieces into attacking the king, that they're always dangerous. And here, Tang Dan is about to involve all 6 of them into an attack on a flank where red doesn't have many pieces. Red tries to fight back, by attacking this rook. Using her rook to attack the cannon. And another versatile move that Tang Dan makes. She clears the path between the cannons, so both of them protect each other now. And there is another threat. Notice how this rook is completely out of escape places. And black is one move away of getting it. How do you stop that as red? Well, Tang Jiayun says, I don't want to lose my rook, so have my cannon instead then, which at least creates an escape place for the rook. It is a minimal thing to do, but what else was there? Tang Dan takes the cannon. I could go and attacks the rook, but that would be a bit much to do. If you're taking 3 pieces, you don't need to go much and. The rook is under attack though. So is this horse. So therefore the rook retreats again, protecting this horse, which is again a very minimal means of retreating. This cannon is under attack. What is the best way to protect it? By putting something in between. Tang Dan moves the horse in, protecting the cannon and attacking this rook. And advancing with the horse in general. Well, at least there was an escape place created, so red goes over there. And having seen the rook leave this file now, Tang Dan moves in her cannon for a kill. We had an exposed flank over here for rook pins or for cannon checks. This is not a check yet, but we're close to it. Yeah, this flank has all but collapsed here. Now, Chen Jiayun does something over here that I can immensely appreciate. There is a checkmate coming very close, and she decides, rather than resigning, which no one would blame her for, she decides to take this horse and let black execute it. So, if you are here and would like to have some exercise in this game, then this is a checkmate in 1. I'll give you some time to find it out. Okay, Tang Dan executes the checkmate. Rook takes horse. And that's it. Both the rook and the cannon are double checking. But please do note that red cannot take this rook because this cannon also protects. If this cannon went here, then king takes would be a perfectly legal move, and this is a very common blind spot for chess players. Other pieces also cannot take, because whichever you take with, then there is still one piece between this cannon and the king. So this is completely game over. Alright, a very convincing game by Tang Dan here. And did red play such a bad game? I don't think so. She didn't make any obvious mistakes, didn't give away any pieces, except for the one that she chose to give away. No, this is just another red player falling victim against the Tang Dan experience, as I like to call it. When you face her, then her moves will make more sense than yours, for more reasons than yours, and her pieces are going to look amazing while yours are going to look a little bit silly, especially this highlighted rook over here. So if you face Tang Dan, then I hope you are an avid student of the game, because then it is a delight to face her. You get to see a true master of the game at work. If you are a player who is more proud of the results, then playing Tandan is a nightmare, because you're going to have the Tandan experience. Thank you for watching. Mind your step on the way out.